Hello, this is Henry Sturchy from Team Dakota, and you're listening to the Inner Circle podcast for the fans, by the fans.
So welcome guys again to our latest episode of TiC Podcast. Unfortunately, our member Unified will not be able to make it tonight, but we do have a guest panelist. A lot of you guys may know him from the legendary Gamertag Radio, Godfree, aka Danny Penna. A vet in the game. We really appreciate you coming on. And we're just gonna hop right into some of the subjects that we want to talk about tonight. We have two fan topics that actually are actually really important over the last week. The first fan topic is that Microsoft may be thinking about shutting down digital sharing. And for a console that is built on digital, for a console that was pushing the digital image when they first released the console, for them to start thinking about shutting that down is a no-go. I know so many of my friends on the Xbox One, as well as myself, use digital sharing as a means to be able to play more games. And though it may be a little bit cheating the system to a certain extent, because one person buys a game and you both kind of have access to it, honestly, it's made me buy more games digitally than physical. I literally have no physical games whatsoever. So, as we start to discuss this topic, let's start with you, Brandon. What is your thoughts on digital sharing, and how do you think Microsoft can go about fixing it without getting rid of this really cool feature?
For me, like I haven't had the chance to actually use digital sharing, so I can't really speak on, how great it is, but I would assume, it's perfect for people who want to be introduced to new games that they probably wouldn't check out before. I think one of the reasons why they're looking to shut it down is that they have something planned in the future. Before the system came out, they were talking about, this whole family sharing thing. So I think something like that is going to come back where they can actually regulate it. So, there will be still some digital sharing, but they want to kind of be in control of it, know who's sharing it and what's being shared. So I think that's why they're looking to scale it back. But I think if they go the family sharing route, which they were talking about, where up to 10 people can share this library of games, that would probably be the best way to go. I mean, that's how you're going to improve or broaden the region of gamers. And we got all these games coming from PC soon that people really haven't had a chance to take a look at. So if you get one person to buy it and 10 people or 9 other people to check it out, you broaden the horizons of the customer base for that game. So I think there's something in the future coming, and that's the reason why they're looking to scale it back.
Right. Danny, what are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I want to say thanks for inviting me to be on the show, man. You guys remind me a lot of when we started, back in the days and stuff. So props to you guys for all the work, man. So yeah, actually it's called family sharing, right? That's where last year we had Phil on our podcast, I believe during E3. We asked him that question, and during the interview he mentioned that it's a challenge for them because it's a lot easier for them to make this happen for like the first party titles, but it's a little bit tricky when it comes to like third party games and stuff like that. There's a lot of things behind the scene that we don't know, that it might be really difficult for them to make this happen. I think that maybe we might see something like this in the future, but it's not going to be exactly how we thought it was going to be back when they started promoting this back in 2013. Based on the feedback, everybody was kind of nervous, thinking they were freaking out, that they couldn't, play online and so on. That's why I think they took that off and probably made some changes and some research to see if it will work or not. I mean, we'll see what happens during E3. They might announce a couple new things that probably going to get us excited. It might not be this. It might be something even cooler. So I think people should just chill and see what happens. Sometimes I really don't like reading too much and believe everything you see online. It's better to just wait and see.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's funny that you say that because I think it was, I don't remember the website, but the other day on Twitter, there was a website that said, Twitter is the worst place to release news. And, and the funny thing about it is that you have the fans, they see these things, they see these topics, they see these articles, and they get up in arms, and they want answers immediately.
Right away, yeah. I agree.
So and in the Twitterverse, you have access to all these people immediately. You have access to Phil Spencer's and the Yoshidas and the Reggies and things like that. So you can immediately go out and ask your questions, and if you're lucky enough to get a response, it makes headline news. I think digital sharing, the way it's set up right now, is really cool because you really only could do it with one person, and you're limited to what you could do. Now, the way guys are doing it is illegal. It's not meant to be done that way. I don't know if it's frowned upon by Microsoft, but I can tell you right now, because of it, it has really, really increased digital sales on the Xbox One platform. There are so many people that I know on my friends list, and I know my friends list is not, even, a 2% or 1% of the entire install base of Xbox. Don't get me wrong. But just using that as a catalyst, I know so many people who use this feature. And it's like, it's not a difficult thing to do. All you do is just swap home consoles. And, if one person buys the game, the other person has access to the license. And because of that, you're able to play those games. You're able to play co-op. You're able to play multiplayer together. Like, it's literally just like having, two people on one game. Now, yes, does that cut into the purchasing price of a particular game? I'm pretty sure it does. How significant, I'm not sure. I don't think the average consumer knows about it. I think only the hardcore guys really, into Xbox know about it. But, if they went the route like they wanted to initially go with, the family sharing thing. Here's the thing. There's no possible way you can present it where it's like, okay, you give 9 people in your circle, shall I say, access to your game, and only one person can play at a time. Now, they can't play the full game. No matter how you look at it, that's 9 people that have an opportunity to play a full game if you set that up. That's 9 sales lost. And that's not going to happen. I hate to be the same way where it's like you look at what Sony has done with their game sharing feature, where it's like you can play per hour, and once that hour is up, it has to reset and you can play again. But in order for you to play, the host has to be online. The host is the one that has to load the game up. He has to be available, either watching the game or letting the game be played while he's available. And once that 1 hour goes by, then he resets it and the person can continue playing. But I think Microsoft have an opportunity to look at 2 things and really make a really great decision on what they do. The first thing is how Sony has it set up. You obviously have to have some type of limit. Either it has to be number of plays or it has to be number of hours. I would prefer number of plays over number of hours, because if I can play one time, or maybe twice or 3 times, however many plays there is available, then the hours really don't matter. Especially on big titles. I'm not going to put, a full, 24, 48 hours into The Witcher to beat it. It's not going to happen. But if I had a 1 playthrough or 2 playthroughs, it may convince me to buy the game. I think the other thing is you have to look at how EA has EA access with their trials. They give you sometimes 6 to 10 hours to play just one game. And in that point, once it ends. But you also now have a discount on playing or purchasing that game. I think if they did that where it was like, I'm in your circle and I played, let's say a friend of mine has Witcher 3 and I played Witcher 3 and I played a playthrough of it for 6 or 7 hours or something like that, and my one playthrough ended, I get a discount now for playing that game from my friend, just because it's an incentive almost. Like, I played it, I like it, now I want the game for myself, I can go ahead and do that. But multiplayer, maybe they can let that be free. Now, multiplayer, they might be able to do that.
I think it's a little bit tricky because, see, a lot of people will be, going crazy online and saying, oh, why they're removing this and stuff. And the thing is that people don't realize is that, a lot of these retail stores have strong relationships with either Sony or Microsoft or any other gaming company out there. So by them adding this feature, they're taking a risk of losing that business relationship with, let's say, Best Buy or Target or Walmart, so it's a little bit tricky. I know we get so excited and or angry, but sometimes we need to know and learn more behind the scenes when it comes to with the business side, what I'm saying? Because a lot of people don't, like the gamers, they don't do no research. Whatever they read online, that's it, so, but yeah, I definitely wanted to bring that up, so.
No, I agree with you. I think there has to be some type of incentive now when it comes to, digital distribution. Whether it's for Best Buy, GameStop, Toys R Us, anything like that. These guys, I think, have to start looking at it from the perspective of that digital is the future. We are starting to go into an age where everything is streaming, everything is download only, and the middleman is starting to get cut out. The whole CD distribution thing is starting to get cut out. I think GameStop is already starting to go into the mobile first world. That's where they're starting to lean in. And unfortunately for them, yes, when it comes to the hard disk, you're still going to have some fans that's going to want that disc, but it's just like how Apple did it with music. It's like CDs nowadays aren't relevant. You don't have, you don't go in your car nowadays and you have a book of CDs like you did back in the 90s. It's like everything's on MP3, everything's on your phone. Either you're running it, streaming it to your phone, or you're hooking up a aux cable and running it through your phone into your car. So I think that this whole way that we're playing games that we are so accustomed to is starting to change, and we're going into a future that these companies are going to have to adjust. And the incentive,
totally agree.
The incentive is trying to figure out ways to get people to come into the store to buy codes instead of sitting at home and buying a code. I think that's really, really what it is. Brandon, you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I was going to say, what do you guys think about, Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo just working with, those companies, Best Buys and Walmarts and things like that, and introducing a way to where, there is some benefit for you buying a digital code at the store. A lot of the limited editions and things like that, people want to collect those things, but maybe they want the game digital. Is there a way for, me to get the limited edition or the collector's edition, but, provide a digital code in the box instead of, the hard-based disc? I think that's one of those things where, if Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo, went to those companies and said, hey, this is what we're going to do to kind of keep our partnership in good standing. We'll offer some digital merchandise here at the store, as well as it, being on the console. That way it kind of works out, for both parties.
Yeah, I mean, they've been doing that for a while now, especially Nintendo recently. They, with Amiibos, they will have, an exclusive, Amiibo at Target, another one at Walmart, little things like that. Having that exclusive product just for that retail store probably will get people to go to the store, and another thing I want to bring up is that, people will, especially the gamers will say, why there's no specials online, digital, why not keep it cheaper, instead of going to the retail store. And the thing is that when a game comes out, they have to, companies, let's say Microsoft, Sony, or Nintendo, they have to keep it the same price. And once there's a time that that the game is either a couple months later, then they'll decide, okay, let's have it for cheap, and the retail store will have it for whatever price they want. But they just gotta both agree that that game is gonna be for that price. So like for
Right.
now, I believe Sunset Overdrive, you could find it for super cheap. I think like what, $20 or something like that.
Yeah.
So
35 or something.
yeah,
like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, who knows? Who knows how? But yeah, like I said, having exclusive content for that store or DLC, like if you pre-order a game at GameStop, you will get like a special DLC code. Little things like that probably will get the fans to go to the store. So
yeah. That definitely makes sense. It going into something like a Gears of War, and they you know how they used to drop the Lancer, and you pick up the Lancer with the game, that you just give me a little UPC code.
Exactly.
Just a little barcode, a little number I could bring back to the Xbox, scan it in. I still get the incentive of picking up either hard copy. You give me options. I can either get the hard copy or I can get digital. I think what will really make Microsoft take off with digital is when they figure out a way to do digital trade-ins. Maybe if they came up with something like, if you bought the game the day it releases, you automatically get $30 back on that game.
I heard. You know what? I heard about that. When was it? Was it E3 2013? I can't remember where. I heard a couple of my friends brought that up, that they were thinking of adding that, either Sony or Microsoft, especially Microsoft. They were planning to have like a trade-in digital type service that you could trade in, get some credit. I mean, it's not going to be a lot. You know how it is when you trade games.
Right.
Something similar like that, but at least you get Microsoft points for you to buy another game from their store. Like that. They say that there were plans for that, but it never happened. I don't know why, but that would be really cool to see something like that in the future. And especially maybe bringing the older titles playable for the Xbox One, like the original Xbox or 360 games. They probably might announce something at E3 that probably, people could either buy for cheap or maybe rent, like how it is with PlayStation Now, something like that. You never know. Yeah, it's possible to happen.
I've said this before. I've said that, listen, what Microsoft needs to do is come up with an Xbox 360 app. That's just the bottom line. An app that runs PowerPC, because the architectures are too different between the 360 and the Xbox One. But if you have an app that runs it like an emulator, and allows your account to keep the licensed games that you paid for on a 360. If you do that for the digital games that you owned on the 360, along with giving us access to the entire 360 library and an app, you would automatically get everybody who has a 360 jump straight to the Xbox One. Because now the incentive is there. All the games I own, plus all the games, the entire Xbox 360 library is on the app. Plus, I get the new games from the Xbox One.
Plus Xbox Gold
and Xbox Gold. You got triple the games for the Xbox 360 plus the Xbox One. Like, you cannot beat that idea. I think that's something they should really implement big time. Hopefully, this is just a rumor and they don't do it. But if they are doing it, hopefully, come E3, they have something planned that will surprise us and will be pretty special.
Well, that's an excellent idea, but from what Microsoft's been showing and what they've been doing, it's almost like they don't want to leave the 360 alone. Like, they just announced that 2 terabyte support, external support, is coming to the 360. It's like, why are you doing that? Like, why?
You know why? It's because that console is the most, besides the PlayStation, obviously, is the most spread console that they've ever had, period, worldwide. It's more consoles out there worldwide than the Xbox One right now, and is way more worldwide than the original Xbox. And they're still probably making a ton of money on it. I wouldn't be surprised if they're making way more money on the 360 than they are on the Xbox One.
Well, it's cheaper now for them. Yeah, it's cheaper for them to make, and And
you still have a few games coming out that are we don't like it, but you got games like Destiny, you got games like Tomb Raider, the new ones coming out, that they still have last gen games that they're going to be releasing brand new on the system.
Yeah.
Now they're
Yep.
made by different studios. Don't get me
Mm-hmm.
wrong; they aren't made by the same studio, so that will not hinder the production of the Xbox One's next gen capabilities. But these games are still brand new games coming out on a last gen console. So it's like, you still have those consoles out there. There's still people who play them, and I can see why they don't want to just drop the 360 so quickly. And I mean, the thing still sells. I see the sales all the time. The 360 still sells really, really well at a great price. So we'll see what happens come E3, obviously. But hopefully they have something special with digital distribution that won't hurt the fans too much,
Mm-hmm.
because obviously it's not regulated, and I'm sure that some developers are losing some dollars on this whole digital sharing thing that the Xbox fans have figured out a way to kind of loophole around.
Yeah, I'm excited for E3. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So, they just announced Star Ocean. What was it? Star Ocean 5, I believe, is going to PlayStation 4 and the Vita exclusively.
Mm-hmm.
As a huge RPG fan and a very huge JRPG fan, I don't have a PlayStation 4. I'm not hating on PlayStation, but I'm just
Mm-hmm.
highly disappointed in Microsoft efforts in the JRPG space. I'm just really disappointed. I understand that they aren't doing well in Japan. I get that. That's without question. I get that, and I know that has a lot to do with Japanese support. But one of the things that I feel Microsoft should do, and I had a discussion like this on Twitter. One of the things I think they should do is just build a first-party studio in Japan and find talented Japanese people to run that studio. Stop outsourcing your games and make first-party Japanese games. What is your thoughts on that, Danny?
Man, I have a lot of things to say about this. All right, so look, so check this out, man. For those that don't know, I love RPG games. I've been a fan since the Super Nintendo days. I think that was like the golden age. Final Fantasy.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So Final Fantasy 3 is my all-time favorite RPG game. So all right, so here's the thing: the Xbox 360, they invested. When I mean Microsoft, they invested a lot of money into getting a lot of Japanese developers to work on RPG games, some exclusive for Xbox. I remember being at E3 and I'm there sitting down at the press conference and they announced, Final Fantasy finally coming out for the Xbox. I remember that, and once the news got out was that Microsoft made a deal just for Final Fantasy to be available for the Xbox 360. I believe it was only for Europe and in North America. And the sales wasn't, compared to the PlayStation, the sales wasn't there at all. So they invested a lot of money. They've done a lot of, RPGs and so on throughout the years during the 360 days. And it wasn't working for them compared to the PlayStation, So why invest on something that is not working? Maybe do something else that might work for you, having, first-person shooters, third-party, maybe an RPG like Dragon Age that, like a North America.
Like the Western RPGs.
Yeah, the Western RPGs. Yeah, getting like that. That will work for here for our crowd here in the States, But in Japan is a totally different story. And basically, too, in Japan, their console-wise is not big how it used to be back in the days. Now what's selling is mobile and handheld. Like the 3DS is like a big thing over there, So it's a different time. I just feel that the Japanese market, when it comes to the RPGs, is not how it used to be back then. And people are rather support games like, Mass Effect or Dragon Age, Western RPGs. They rather support things like that. Even Witcher.
Right.
That's a big
title.
game.
That's
a big, huge title.
Mm-hmm.
And look, I bet that if that game would have come out in Japan, it wouldn't have been that big at all.
Right.
But Europe and here in North America, dude, it's going to be a huge, huge game once it releases, Yeah. So, and they even have an exclusive for, I believe, anybody has an Xbox One version of The Witcher will get the DLC first through that console for that console and PC, and then eventually will come out on the PlayStation 4. Little things like that will work for the Xbox.
Mm.
You know?
Right. Brandon?
Um, you know, I talk about this a lot on Twitter and in different forums and things like that. And, you know, it would be exciting if they were to build a first party studio over in Japan, but that's just something that they're not going to do. I was talking to a couple of guys on Twitter today, and we were talking about JRPGs and, you know, the announcement of Star Ocean and things that are, you know, coming to the other platform. And it's just like, you know, Microsoft is, you know, they're going in a different direction. You know, they're going to do what works for them, and that's why we see, you know, the third party love. We see, you know, the exclusivity with, you know, Tomb Raider and things like that, and doing partnerships with, you know, big third party companies like Ubisoft and Activision. So they do what works for them. And I can't really anticipate any big JRPGs or anything like that coming to the Xbox platform. I mean, we'll get the Final Fantasies, the Kingdom Hearts, and things like that, but the smaller niche games, you know, those just aren't coming to Xbox, unfortunately, man.
Yeah. No, I mean, listen, I like Danny said, that 360 era, it caught me at a time where I had just jumped from PS2 to 360. That was my transition period. So in my eyes, and I know this may sound blasphemous to some of the hardcore Xbox fans out there, but the PS2 in my eyes at that point in time was the greatest console ever made, in my opinion. I mean, yeah, it wasn't as powerful as the Xbox, the original Xbox, or the Nintendo GameCube, but the PS2 just had so many excellent games, from Animusha to Devil May Cry, the Final Fantasy series, 10 being one of my favorites. And it just had they just had a lot. Ark the Lab, Baldur's Gate, you know, Cloud, I forget
The Dark Cloud.
Dark Cloud, exactly.
Yeah.
It just was a lot of anime, a lot of Japanese RPGs, a lot of Japanese anime style RPGs. It's, you know, a couple Tales games. It just was a lot. And, you know, when I got that transition to the 360, and, you know, one of the things that captured me was when I first saw Lost Odyssey. That trailer blew my mind. I mean, the only trailer I've ever seen that really destroyed me, that I was like, wow, this is absolutely amazing, I believe, was like Animusha 3. I think Animusha 3 trailer was really stunning when I first saw it, especially for it being back in the day. But when I saw Lost Odyssey trailer, and I'm like, wow, he's one man versus an entire army, and he's wrecking them, then suddenly lava's falling from the sky. I'm like, is lava falling from the sky? This is insane. I had to play the game. And then, you know, they're like, okay, boom, you got Lost Odyssey. Here's Blue Dragon. You know, and I'm like, wow, Blue Dragon is amazing. Then it's like, okay, now you have Infinite Undiscovery. Boom. Then you got Tales of Vesperia. Boom. I'm like, wow, this is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need a PlayStation. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, I don't need a PlayStation. Like,
but you know what's so sad? But you know what's the sad part? It's a very small group of people that actually support it, man. Which is sad because those games were pretty good, man. The Lost Odyssey, man, that game was bananas on the 360, you know? Yeah. I love Blue Dragon. That was pretty cool, too. Like, 360 had a lot of games, man, but not a lot of people supported, man, which is the sad part, you know?
That's a sad part. I remember looking at some of the sales, like the final sales. Like, I think Lost Odyssey didn't even break 1 million. I think it was like 989,000 people purchased the game, and it's really disappointing. I want to say that I feel like if Microsoft just kept investing, people will just say, "Hey, you know, they have JRPGs too. I'm gonna get an Xbox for their JRPGs." But I guess there's only so much money you can throw into the toilet. You know what I'm saying? And I would really love to see a Lost Odyssey 2, maybe something in the future with Kime, or, you know, something along those lines, or bring a Tales game back. One of the things that Phil said when he was on our show, he said that sometimes, you you have to invest into those games, even though you know you're going to take a hit. You know, you're going to take a loss, but you have to do it for that fan base, for that niche fan base. I'm hoping that they have something up their sleeves with, a Japanese studio, or shall I say the creators of Lost Odyssey, because earlier in the year, we had them release the trailer for Cryon. And that was a canceled game that was going to be released on 362. And my question is, why would you release that trailer all of a sudden? Like, you had this trailer all this time. None of us have ever seen it. And you finally turn around and you release this trailer. And now everybody's intrigued about this little girl and this giant golem-looking creature. So I'm hoping that might be a surprise at E3. Maybe it's not Lost Odyssey, but maybe they have a JRPGs and it's Cryon finally coming to Xbox One next gen. But, if not, I might have to get a PS4 for my JRPG itch. Because that's what it's looking like with Persona and, Star Ocean. Yeah, I might have to do that. It's not something that not something that I would say I wouldn't want to do, but it's just the point that I do like JRPGs. I have to admit that I really do, and that's where they are, so I might do it. I mean, if the games are on that platform, that's what you do. You go play the games on that platform, so that might be something I might have to do. Yeah. So, you guys know E3 is coming up, and for TiC Podcast is going to be our first E3. Danny's a vet in the game. He's been to a few of them already. So for us, we're very, very excited. And we had Jeff Keighley on last week, and he kind of, was messing with us a little bit about E3 and everything. But we look forward to seeing everybody there. And we asked him about third-party megatons. And, look, we all know that we aren't fans of third-party exclusives. We don't like money hats. We don't like any company money hat, whether it's Nintendo, Sony, or Microsoft. But at the same time, we know what's going to happen because every company's trying to one-up each other. We know that PlayStation has Street Fighter V. Microsoft has Tomb Raider. PlayStation has No Man's Sky. Microsoft has Elite Dangerous. And this is going to go back and forth. So, in my opinion, I think some of the games that they may show, and this is my prediction, some of the games that they may show at this year's E3 for Microsoft will be as follows. I absolutely believe that they're going to show Joe Montana football, NFL 2K16, and I believe that Microsoft,
they are.
Yeah, they have the NFL license. I think that is something they are keeping under wraps. I think that them showing these generic costumes and making people think it's generic teams is just a ploy. And when they get on that stage and you see Joe Montana and that 49ers uniform throwback, boy, listen, it's not going to appeal to all the European guys out there because I had a conversation earlier with a European guy. It doesn't appeal to them. But for us Americans, for the people in the U.S. who love football, and we know how big football is on the Xbox platform, this is really, really going to be big. It is going to be special. So that's one game I think will be a really big title or a really big megaton for Xbox coming out with an exclusive football title.
I have one.
Go ahead.
I've been saying this now for about 3 years on our podcast. Based on little hints. No, because it was based on little hints here and there. And I mentioned it a couple of times. People look at me like, you're crazy. I'm like, watch. I'm telling you, it's going to happen. I don't know how, but it's going to happen. They are going to bring back Battletoads. Yes. I've been saying this for 3 years now.
Yes.
And the reason why I noticed was the last, was it a Banjo-Kazooie game that they had on the 360? I think they hinted Battletoads like in the background. And then recently, I think a couple years ago, I think it was on Connect Sports, there was also an image there of a uniform, and it was also the Battletoads logo. And then recently this year, seeing Phil wearing that shirt too during was it GDC?
GDC,
yeah. I'm like, it's gonna happen. Then now they announced,
Shovel Knight,
and they're gonna have a Battletoads. I'm telling you, they're pushing it, giving you hints here and there.
Yeah,
but they're gonna actually reveal it and show it and everything. Now the thing is it gonna be a retail game or a strictly digital game? I think might be both. The way how Rare been promoting it, and not promoting it, but giving like hints on what's coming for this year. This is I forgot. This is like their big anniversary year for Rare. I can't remember exactly how many years, but if they're gonna go big, they're gonna go with this. The return of an old classic franchise from back then. So
right.
Yeah.
Brandon, you have a prediction?
I like Danny's prediction. You know, I'm a big fan of Rare.
That's what I'm like.
You
Yeah.
guys know, man, I love Rare. I love everything they do. But uh, I think the game that we see for Rare is probably going to be something new. I think it's going to be a new IP. I think what they're doing is kind of sprinkling their old guys in all these smaller games. We see Conquer going to Project Spark. We'll
Right.
see Battletoads and Shovel Knight. And I think we'll
Right.
probably see a couple of more, Rare characters in other games and things like that. Um, but I think it's probably going to be a new IP. We've been talking about Joe Montana football. I've been on the bandwagon of that game since last year, really hyping it up. I'm hoping that, it's definitely an NFL game. I know, once it hits the stage, I'm going bananas. Joe Montana was the very first football game I ever played. Me and my uncle used to play it on Sega Genesis.
Classic.
Wood,
Classic.
floor TV, wooden box.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
that brings back so many memories. But I think the game that we probably see from Microsoft that'll probably be a third party game is probably going to be from Ubisoft. I think Ubisoft always kind of comes out of left field with these random games at the end of their show and things like that. And I think Microsoft is kind of they got EA under wraps. They got Activision under wraps. The next big third party is Ubisoft. And I think with working with Division, Division being the lead platform on Xbox, there's probably something there. If not Ubisoft, then I definitely think it's going to be Take-Two with either a Rockstar game or a 2K game. If it's Joe Montana football with 2K, it's probably going to lead to another project. You know what I mean? So it's got to be from one of those devs, and I think that's what's going to happen.
Right. I think that I think Microsoft obviously they got a ton of games I think they're going to be dropping. We already know about the megatons. Look, when we get to the show, they're going to show us what they already shown us. I guarantee we'll see finally a trailer for Gears. We're going to see Gears. Whether it's gameplay or not, I'm not sure. It may be in-game footage like usual. Usually it is in-game footage. They don't really have gameplay.
Maybe like a teaser.
Right,
for what's coming for next year. Yeah.
Right. But I think we will see Gears. I think we will finally get to see what Halo looks like, single player campaign. That's going to be epic. I think that's going to be one of the best looking games that's going to come out this year, especially according to Aaron Greenberg. We had him on the show as well.
Shout out to Aaron.
Shout out to
right
Greeny. Yeah. I also think Rare is working on multiple projects. We've all heard this before, but the multiple projects, that could be anything, right? So I spoke about this before. Ken Lobb came on the show. We asked him, are we going to get Battletoads this year? One of the things he said was no. I don't think Battletoads is going to come out this year, but I know that they are working on Battletoads. I think Battletoads will come out next year with some of the other heavy hitters. I honestly believe they are working on a new IP, and I also believe that we may see a new Conquer game.
You think it's Conquer?
I think you're pushing it there. Okay.
No, I'm going to tell you why. Because of the simple fact that they're bringing Conquer back in Project Spark. It's the rev up. It's like, hey,
I think it's the other way around. I think it's Battletoads this year, Conquer maybe next year.
Nah, I definitely think it's Battletoads next year, Conquer this year, and a new IP. Or if not Conquer, then a new IP and Banjo.
See, I don't think it's Banjo, man. Because after talking to Playtonic and those guys that they're making a successor to Banjo, they know what Rare's working on. Right. So in my eyes, it wouldn't make sense to make a successor to Banjo and then Banjo come out too. Okay. That'd just be like, Infune making, Mighty Number 9 and then,
Mega Man comes out.
Mega Man drops, what I mean?
Gotcha.
That would make no sense. I would love to see Banjo come back. I'm a big fan of action platformers, but with them making a successor to Banjo, it kind of gives me the weary eye. Like it's probably not going to be Banjo. I would love to see Cameo if they made a Cameo too. A little bit darker, maybe a little bit more mature Cameo game. I would definitely love that, and then to see a new IP.
Perfect Dark, maybe. That would be
No,
cool too.
Perfect Dark be cool, but I don't think they're.
But not for this year. Not for there's no way they're gonna announce something like that. For this.
Yeah, we had Ken on
Yeah.
the show. We suggested to him to make it a third person instead of a first person since we are saturated with them.
Yeah.
He actually said, "Yeah, that's something they talked about." So that's pretty cool. But I think that definitely be something like next year
Well,
they announce.
I have one more thing that I have to say. I think that they might show like a teaser for Gears of War during E3, which comes out hopefully next year or the year after. We'll see. And then maybe during the Game Awards, Jeff Keighley, for his awards, they probably will show that game a little bit more, or they probably will show Quantum Break, or maybe both. Because Quantum Break is going to be coming out for next year. That's going to be a big title for them. So. But I mean, right now their focus is how they're gonna push the console. Having Tomb Raider exclusive, Halo exclusive. Of course, I know one of you guys mentioned the Ubisoft game. Oh my God, the third party one. The Division. That's gonna be a big one too. Little things like that. Maybe Rainbow Six. Who knows? You never know.
You never know.
Yeah. I mean, I know that there's gonna be something either for PlayStation or an Xbox, like that lead platform. So who knows? We'll probably see that during E3.
You know what? You know what would be surprising, honestly? I think that we've had recent talks of new Jade Empire.
Yeah.
That could be one of them. Jade. This will be mind blowing.
I don't see that happening. Because right now, I think they're focusing too much on the new Mass Effect. Yes,
they are. Yeah. But just to come out and announce, you don't even have to show the game. All you have to say is that Jade Empire. You could just throw up the banner. Jade Empire exclusively on Xbox One in winter 2017, holiday 2016, right? Then turn around and say, and this summer.
Remastered Jade Empire.
You could have remastered Jade Empire.
I don't see that happening. I just don't, you know why I don't see that happening? Because I feel that they probably announced a trilogy remaster of Mass Effect. I probably will see that more than just a Jade Empire game.
Remaster Mass Effect.
Yeah,
Mass Effect would be. I can see that happening.
Because the thing is, there's a lot of gamers that never played Mass Effect on the old 360 or PlayStation 3.
Right.
So having a remaster for the new console for them to be prepared for the next Mass Effect, that's possible. I see that happening.
That'd be cool. I think that'd be an interesting dynamic. That would make sense. I can see that happening. Yeah, I can see them announcing that.
I'll buy that. Let me tell you, because Mass Effect 2, ooh,
Mass Effect 2 was amazing.
It reminds me of like Empire Strike Back from Star Wars, like that type of vibe, like the best out of the three.
I played Mass Effect 2 like 4 times. It was amazing. It was an amazing game.
Yeah.
I think that I wouldn't be surprised if Microsoft announced the Old Republic MMO comes to Xbox One.
Ooh, that was a good one.
I
forgot about the game. That game is awesome. I have that on my tablet and on my phone.
Yeah.
That game.
Yeah, because Neverwinter is a success.
Yeah.
That's a success. That game has got solid ratings. It is full. You got people on those servers. People are really playing that game. So it's a successful game. I think I can see a ton of more MMOs coming, starting with something like a Guild Wars or Star Wars: The Old Republic coming to the Xbox One. So I wouldn't be surprised. Those are some of the games that obviously we would like to see. Obviously, they're going to show the games that we already know about. But I think they'll have something that some of the other studios have been working on that we haven't heard about, or we haven't really known about them. They're going to announce some new IPs, obviously. But it's going to be fun. It's definitely going to be fun come E3 this June.
Before we move on, how many new IPs do you think Microsoft announces this year?
3.
For 2015 or for 2016?
Just how many that you think they're going to announce?
They probably will announce more than last year. Because remember, they did mention that they're investing a lot of money on new IPs.
Mm-hmm.
So we most likely will see more this year. maybe as a teaser, like, hey, it's coming for 2016 type thing. Maybe have one or two for 2015. But I think their focus for that is going to be 2016.
I think they'll have at least 2 to 3 for big budget titles, and about 3 or 4 for the smaller Max Curse of the Brotherhood type, Crimson Dragon type titles, more of the smaller titles that you could just pick up digitally in the arcade for,
Mm-hmm.
15, $20. But I think IP wise, I wouldn't be surprised if the guys at Lionhead has something, because I've been seeing a lot of stuff come out of Lionhead besides Fable. They've been releasing images of games that they've been working on, and don't forget that RPG Eden Falls. That is a game we've spoke about so much, and we haven't heard anything about. That is a new IP. Don't be surprised if we've seen it. It's supposed to be a cyberpunk IP, a cyberpunk RPG. So that might be something to look out for as well. I don't know how it's going to look graphically or the art direction. I hope it looks nothing like Fable. I really do. I love Fable. I really like Fable. The art design is cool, but I really just want something more serious in tone. And I really hope it looks absolutely amazing. But that could be a new IP that they can be talking about, as well as some other stuff that they probably have up their sleeves. I'm hoping that they have a new hack and slash and a new adventure game.
Yeah. Because I think Scalebound kind of hit us out of nowhere, and that was a welcome surprise.
That was welcome. And the great thing about those games is that when you look up the trademark, they own those games. They own Scalebound and they own Quantum Break, so that's excellent. It's not like Alan Wake, where it's like, oh, Alan Wake is, they can Remedy could do whatever they want with Alan Wake because they own Alan Wake. No, Microsoft owns Quantum Break. Microsoft owns Scalebound, which is excellent. So that means that those, and don't be surprised. I was thinking about this. You know how every generation you had Halo for the OG Xbox, and that was the flagship title. And though Halo was on the 360, Gears of War was that IP that was the billion-dollar franchise. I would not be surprised if Scalebound is that new franchise for the Xbox One. I would not be surprised. The way Ken talks about it, how it can be the next great game of all time, the next greatest of all time. Those are big, big words. And these guys are putting a lot of weight behind it. I mean, it's quiet. What game do you know is this quiet? Besides Crackdown, what game do you know is this quiet? We really can't get any information. Not no whatsoever. This game is going to be huge. And
it's going to be huge. Definitely.
I could see this being a crazy multiple saga franchise, and it already has multiplayer in it. We know that, so I wouldn't be surprised if this is the next great franchise for the Xbox One. I thought it was going to be Quantum Break, but I no longer think it's going to be Quantum Break. I think it's going to be Scalebound.
Yeah.
So, speaking of games, Phantom Dust. Big news over the weekend from a Kotaku article. Obviously, you guys know we had Ken on the show early in January, and we spoke about Phantom Dust, which is an old, JRPG game that was kind of like a battle arena type game at the same time. Was released on the original Xbox, came out in the States kind of late, kind of at the tail end of the Xbox life cycle. It was very niche, but for its time, it was ahead of its time. Microsoft has decided to go ahead and revive the franchise. They did a successful revival with Killer Instinct, and that's been a hit. And the direction it's going has been very, very successful. People like it. Now they've decided to bring back Phantom Dust, but something happened, and it seems that TiC Podcast has played a role in that.
It's your fault. It's canceled. It's your fault, guys.
We had Ken on the show. We asked him a ton of questions, obviously, about Phantom Dust, and he gave us the background on it. He gave us basically all the information, all the information he could give us on it. But there came a significant point when we talked about the campaign, whether or not there was a campaign in the game. And he said, yes, there is a campaign in the game. And he said it was going to be a 30-hour campaign. So the whole game is just PvP?
No. It's a JRPG, right? This game's about a 30-hour RPG.
Wow.
And then through that you unlock the cards. And again, one of the problems of the original, again, this isn't something we've landed on yet. I'm going to give you another kind of gray answer. We know that we want people playing PvP before 6 hours. And we want them to have viable decks without having to wait 15 hours. All right. So a lot of the discussion is around how do we front load a little of the multiplayer side without breaking the beautiful unlock that was already so well designed in the original RPG. And again, we want to tell that story again because it's really good. With obviously with modernized, because it's it was JRPG.
Right. But he wanted people to get into the multiplayer of the game about 6 hours in. So the issue is that these guys at Darkside listened to the podcast. Thank you for listening to the podcast, by the way, fellas.
Appreciate it.
We really do. But they listened to the podcast, or they read the news over IGN and GameSpot or whatever, and they heard him or read what he said was that it's supposed to have a 30-hour, campaign. And Darkside had no idea what the heck Ken is talking about because they were not planning to put in a 30-hour campaign. And I'm like mind boggled by this, and this has some type of effect on why this studio was no longer doing this game. Now, my understanding is that they worked on the game in December. They requested an extension. That extension extended to January for whatever reason they were working on. They were having maybe some type of issues, or they needed more time working on the game, developing the mechanics, whatever.
And money,
of course, and money, more money to invest into the game.
Yeah.
And then this news comes out from TiC Podcast, speaking with Ken Lobb, that kind of puts a rein on their parade. These guys were making a battle arena game. They were thinking about making a campaign. There was no real story. This was going to be a digital game that probably had a small tutorial, probably a 6-hour tutorial, and we were just going to be playing with these cards and fighting. And that studio is now, unfortunately for them, and I hope that they find work, I really do, defunct. And Microsoft has not canceled the game. This has been reported by Adam Is Green, and this has also been reported by Aaron Greenberg that the game is not canceled, but the game is being published by a different studio. Not published, being produced by a different studio. So I don't know what that studio is. I have no idea what it is, but hopefully it's a Japanese studio. I would love to see Platinum work on it. Just for my opinion out there, just throwing that out there to Microsoft. If you're listening, get Platinum to work on the game. But look, I'm not trying to say TiC really had a role in it. Obviously, we really didn't have a role in it. Whatever the issues were already present. I just think that maybe we were the crack in the iceberg that sent it adrift. I guess you can say, and I'm just mind boggled that this happened, and we were brought up in this, and it happened because of something that he said on the show, and now they may be looking for a new studio to put in a campaign, and that TiC Podcast might have had something to do with that. So that's just crazy to me. But Danny, what is your thoughts on this, man? What are your thoughts on Phantom Dust, the direction that it's going? How all this is playing out, and do you think once this is all settled, will it be a successful game?
But here's the crazy thing about this game is so special to me, because when we launched Gamertag Radio 10 years ago, a couple weeks later, Phantom Dust came out for the original Xbox, and when it came out, it was by Majesco, I believe.
Majesco.
And they were basically the publisher for this game, and it was $20 when that game came out, $20, and I had a blast playing it with my brother. And I think one of the first people that we had on our show, that we interviewed, was a fan site that was pretty popular, that was promoting Phantom Dust, because that person had the Japanese version. So I just want to bring that bring that up because it's a very special game to me, man. So when I heard that they were gonna bring this for Xbox One last year, I was like, "What, dude?" I got up, I got excited, I couldn't believe it. I'm like, "Oh my god!" So, but here's the thing. Um, it's good that they're gonna bring it back for the Xbox One. I really doubt that it's canceled. Like you said, it's probably another different developers that are working on it. But here's the thing that I'm wondering: why they never mentioned the actual developers that were working on this last year. There was multiple interviews with Kevin and the crew that they were promoting Phantom Dust, but they wouldn't announce the developers.
Right.
I find that kind of weird. Yeah, is it going to be popular when it comes on Xbox One? It depends, man. Having it digital is a little bit easier for them because it's not for them spending a lot of money marketing. If it was like a retail stores or something like that, this would be a lot easier for them to promote. And maybe it's going to have a good crowd, but if it's going to be number one or nah, I don't think so. Unless they do something like how they had with Killer Instinct, have maybe like a certain type of the game that maybe for free.
Right.
Maybe that will make people to download the game a lot easier, and it will become a hit like that.
Right.
But I don't know. It wasn't a successful game back then, so I don't know if it's gonna work again like that now for 2015. It's a little bit tricky. I think having it for free and have like certain amount of cards, like your power ups in the game for free, and if you want more, you just gotta buy the full game. I think that maybe will help. But I mean, to you guys, are you guys excited? Have you played the first one at all when it first came out, or not really?
No, I never played it.
Okay.
I never played it either.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
It's a dope game, man. It's so much fun. I was playing that game nonstop with my brother, man. And there were certain things we know what we were doing, but trust me when I say this: when you sit down and play this game, it's a lot of fun, man. And that game to me was like ahead of its time, big time.
Yeah, that's what Ken said. He said it was ahead of his time. I think that's the reason why it didn't sell, because people didn't get it.
Nope. At that time, people were too excited with Halo and Rainbow Six and Ghost Recon.
Right.
That was the market that they had for Xbox. Having this game out for the original Xbox, I don't know. To me, yes, it was a failure, but it had its fans, and I was one of them.
Right. A lot of everybody that I know that played the game said they loved the game. I haven't heard one person who said, "Oh, I played the game and I disliked the game." Mm-hmm. That's the thing that catches me. I feel like if more people played the game, they would have loved it too. I think people just didn't want to give it a chance. First of all, they didn't want to give it a chance probably because it was made by a company. And no disrespect to Majesco, but it was Majesco. It wasn't like it was like BioWare or EA or Activision. It was like a small studio that nobody's really heard of at the time. At the
story wasn't all that either. I'm just letting you know.
Yeah,
to me, what was fun about it was to me the story was like a tutorial, like how to battle it out with an enemy, But the real magic is playing this game multiplayer online.
I think that's exactly what Darkside was doing. They were literally doing exactly what the original game was, giving you this small tutorial campaign on how to play the game and then play the game. And then when Ken came out and said, we are doing a 30-hour RPG, they were probably sitting in the studio like,
they're like, what?
What is he talking about right now? We got like 85% of this game done and with a 6-hour campaign, and he's talking about a 30-hour RPG. Is he insane? And that probably, Ken was like, all right, it's not going to work out, fellas, I appreciate all the hard work you did, but we're just going to go in a different direction. And that's what Microsoft did.
I used to play a lot of 2 versus 2 because when it came up for the original Xbox, it was up to 4 players online.
Right.
So I would get with my brother. He was like in another room, and I'm in my room. I'm like, all right, let's go, man. Let's attack people, man. Let's go to random rooms and just battle it out with people. Man. We were a pretty good tag team, let me tell you, man.
Wow. I really want to play this game. I really hope it pans out. I hope they find a really great studio and make it look amazing. And being that they now have literally, this game is obviously going to come out in 2016, maybe even 2017. I really hope that it's a DX12 game now. It probably wasn't a DX12 game then, but I really hope it is now. Brandon, your thoughts?
When I think about this game, I think exactly about what what Phil said about reinvesting in games that probably wouldn't be as popular, or taking a risk on games that aren't as popular or didn't have the sales. This is definitely one of them. I never played the first Phantom Dust, so when this was announced, it wasn't something that I was intrigued by or anything like that. It was kind of like, what game is this? But to kind of hear that, there was some misunderstanding as far as what, the development team was thinking, and what Microsoft was thinking, it's kind of unsettling. Like, how did, the developer not know that they were supposed to be developing, this large scale game? How did Microsoft not, convey that to the developer?
Right.
It's communication, man.
Yeah,
I think Kevin messed up. Yeah, Kevin messed up. I think he probably heard from someone. He probably thought they knew about it and they mentioned it on your show, and the developers were like, "Wait, what is this?
Right.
What?" So I think it was just a miscommunication. At the same time, too, man, money has a lot of things to do with it too.
Yeah.
More than anything else.
Right.
Yeah. Money always plays a big part, but you would think that, if Microsoft is the ones announcing the game and, talking about bringing it back, revitalizing, this original franchise, you would think that, they'd be throwing all the money at it that they could to ensure that it's a quality game when it releases. We were showed the trailer, and the trailer looked amazing. So of course people, want to see more of the game. And we saw the leaked screenshots of the game not too long ago, and the screenshots weren't that impressive in my mind.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
I agree.
So maybe Microsoft felt that it was for the best interest of them, it was best for them to move on and find a different developer, maybe bring their ideas to light. But what they had been working on, to me, wasn't impressive.
When I watched the gameplay was cool. It looked like it was something downloadable. It looked like it was something fun. But I think that if you're gonna bring this franchise back and you're gonna, show it off at E3 with this big trailer and make me feel like this is gonna be a big title for you guys, I want it to feel like a big game. That's why I was like, okay, it's a 30-hour campaign. That's cool. I don't mind that, because there's always more than 30 hours. Yeah, there's 30 hours worth of story, but there's side quests. There's always something extra that you're doing. Maybe hidden things within the game, secret cards, whatever you're doing. You're gonna put more time into the game to play before you really start to get into multiplayer. But the cool thing about it, and unfortunately, it's at the expense of a development company. They are no longer with this company, which I felt the same way. I really wasn't impressed. It was cool, it looked good, but it wasn't up to what I was expecting. It wasn't up to par, and I felt like that if they were really going to push this game out, the way it looked at the time wasn't. I felt like that game probably would have had to been free to play, just like Danny said. You would have to do a marketing campaign like Killer Instinct. It would have had to been, you try this character out, you get the main character to start, you play the campaign, and then you play a little bit of multiplayer with maybe like 4 characters that come with the game. And as characters get released, you see what their base abilities are, and you can add to it or whatever, and you would go season to season. Like that, and maybe in the next season you would get another 30-hour story of pieces of the puzzle or whatever. That fine, if that's the way they wanted to go, that's fine. But I think that if you're going to go the big AAA route, that was not it. That was definitely not it. Especially when you're talking about Halo. You're talking about Tomb Raider, you're talking about Scalebound, you're talking about Quantum Break, some of the more impressive looking games. A lot of people say that Halo didn't look that impressive, but I'm telling you right now, the level of detail in Halo 5's multiplayer was crazy. I mean, when I look at the characters' hands, when they held the gun, that glove, it looked like leather. It looked like leather on the Spartans' hands, and you can see the details. So, yeah, sure, on YouTube or on compressed video, you're not gonna see that. But when you play the game, you see the level of detail. And that's just the beta. That's a year out. That was last year. So you could imagine how much better it's gonna look when it comes out in October. So, you know, Phantom Dust, I feel like hopefully they find a good studio. I really hope they talk to Platinum, because Platinum is really good at making these action-based RPGs, these action-based JRPGs. You look at Metal Gear Rising, you look at Vanquish, the type of speed, the type of versatility you want in a game where you need to maneuver around a large map, pick up orbs, recharge your decks, and use those powers on the enemy. I think you would want that type of speed in the game. You will want that type of maneuverability in the game to make you feel like a super-powered being, not some guy running around a map just throwing projectiles at each other from across the room. After a while, that's going to get kind of boring over time. Obviously, there's some type of strategy to that, but I really hope that they find the right studio and they get the right people on board for, I guess, the reboot of the revival. You know what I'm saying? The reboot of the revival. So, you know, we'll see what happens at E3, man. I really hope it all pans out. And I really hope we can get Phil on the show in May. I've reached out to him. Hopefully he responds. And, you know, we will have some surprises. We'll see what happens. So before we get out of here, man, I want to talk about Gamertag Radio. Obviously, you guys inspiring to us. Been in the game for a very long time. The longevity you guys have is very impressive. Shout out to Gamertag Radio. If you guys don't know who Gamertag Radio is, you are living under a rock when it comes to podcasts, especially gaming podcasts. You got to go check them out. Look them up. Google them. Follow them. Follow Danny at Godfree, Godfree on Twitter. Really, really awesome podcast. What do you guys have coming up?
Well, I'm still under NDA. I can't really say much right now. Yeah, but it's a next week's episode is going to be a pretty big one, a pretty big episode. I went out of town for 4 days for a Pride event, which I'm going to talk about on the show and stuff. But it's going to be big. All right, that's all I can say right now. You know.
Right.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, we've been around 10 years now. We've been podcasting, you know, we release a brand new episode every single week for the past 10 years and stuff. And we've been having a lot of, you know, guests on our show from, you know, old school Jay Allard. For those that don't know, he used to be one of the creators of Xbox, you know. You know, I had him. I think Major Nelson was on our show, like, I think on our 4th, 5th episode, you know. Wow. And now we're like in 400.
I wish Major Nelson would come on our show just to say hi.
Yeah, right? Major's cool. Yeah, I had him, Trixie, you know, a lot of old school cats from Xbox, and every gaming company you can think of, man. Even you know, movie actors, artists, hip hop artists on our show and stuff. One day, quick story. I was at the Xbox booth playing the first Gears of War for the Xbox 360. I'm there sitting down playing, and I look to the side and I see DMC from Rum DMC sitting next to me, actually playing with me. He was part of my team, and I was like, "Dude, come on, I'm a huge fan. What's up? Is it cool to have you on our show?" And you know, for an interview, he's like, "Sure, man. What's up?" He's like, "Look, I'm not a gamer. I was just curious, and my son is a gamer. You know, but." You know, people like that, I'll have them on the show and stuff and talk about, like, you know, the hip hop side of you know, the music business side and everything, you know. I had Snoop Dogg on our show, Warren G, De La Soul, Karis One Twice, you know, if you guys are into hip hop and stuff. So
yeah, no, I know.
That's huge.
That's huge, man.
Yeah. And the cool thing too, like recently, a couple months ago, we signed a deal with CBS Radio, so they have us on we're part of their podcast network. It's called Play It.
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah.
You know, go check it out. It's pretty cool. You know, if you're into wrestling, Taz has a show there. Bunch of people have a show there, man. So make sure to check it out. But yeah, man, I'm excited, man. It's cool to see you guys doing your own thing too, man. Because you know, we're not going to be doing this forever,
Right.
but I love seeing, the new up and coming podcasts doing their own thing too, create a buzz. And one advice I always say to people is that the thing that worked for us is that we always go out to events and meet people. Yes,
Yeah.
it's expensive to attend events, but I'm telling you, that's like the biggest investment because you're going to see a lot of things in return. A lot of your listeners is going to grow. You're going to meet companies that are going to give you an opportunity for interviews. It's cool to record at home and everything, but I'm telling you, going to the events is the most powerful thing, man. When I went to E3 for the first time, and I mentioned this to a bunch of other shows, I mentioned this, but, when I went to E3 for the first time, I wasted all my money on trying to promote the show, either with CDs, business cards. I had a whole press kit, that I created at Kinko's, a bunch of copies of paper with our bio and pictures. Like it was very professional because when we started, podcasting wasn't big at all. So when I mentioned it to like a company, like let's say Ubisoft or EA, they'll look at me like, what the hell is a podcast? You know what I'm saying? But because of that event, everybody remember us. So the year after that, 2006, dude, that's when we blew up, even more. You know what I'm saying? So it's good that you go to attend events, even PAX if you can, man. You know what I'm saying? Because little things like that will help you get your name out there. You know what I'm saying? So, but the cool thing that you guys are getting some pretty good content, and at least the media are mentioning you guys. The major media like IGN, GameStop. Because that happened to us too. I don't know if you guys remember. Xbox revealed their 360 on MTV revealed back in like '05. All right, we interviewed a group of people that went to that event, and it was I believe they went on a Wednesday. I recorded them on a Thursday, and the show was going to come out a week after that on TV. So I had them on our show, and they basically spilled the beans about Perfect Dark, Cameo, Call of Duty, everything on our show, right? And I had the podcast for like not even an hour up on our site, and the major media picked it up. Then Major Nelson and Trixie, that used to work at Microsoft, hit me up and were like, "Hey, Godfrey, please, can you take it down?" The thing is, the girls that we interviewed, MTV told them, promote it, tell everybody, but Microsoft wanted this on the wraps until it comes out on TV. So that helped us out. You know what I mean? I mean, we have like a long history and story, man, but just want to keep it short and mention it to you guys.
Yeah, no, man.
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, we really do. We really do. I mean, look, we're a little bit older, what I'm saying, and stuff like that. So I don't know how long. I don't want to sit up here and promise guys that TiC Podcast will be here forever and things like that. Right now we're in a moment where we really just want to support the Xbox platform. We love the Xbox platform. We really felt like they were getting the shaft. And some of that obviously, again, was brought on by what they presented. Fans didn't agree with it or whatever and stuff like that, and they held grudges. But there was a lot of great things about the console a lot of people wanted to ignore. We just wanted to get that word out. We wanted to bring some positivity to the Xbox because we felt like the media was just so biased, just beyond biased at the time. So, I mean, that's why TiC Podcast exists. Then, obviously, over time, we evolved with, what we presented and who we speak to and things like that, and now we've become this kind of movement for Xbox gamers, which is great, and that's something that we've truly enjoyed. But we wanted to be able to put out a good quality product, put out great content, talk to great people, and get and be the voice for the fans when they want to ask questions to executives or game developers. Be that voice for them, because a lot of podcasts don't do that. A lot of podcasts just talk.
Yep. And that's the mistake, like when we started back with our show, dude, we were complaining a lot about Halo 2. There was a lot of cheating and but it's not what you say, it's how you say it.
Right.
A couple years ago during that time when everybody was just smashing Xbox One, one of the things that I noticed throughout the years, because when I first started, Xbox invested a lot of money for community events and getting, involved with the community a lot. They had a whole department just strictly for like community sites, and then throughout the years, it just went downhill. They got laid off. They stopped investing money on that because why? They were number one console. They finally beat PlayStation. PlayStation 3 was struggling to be number one,
right,
in the States. And the reason why that happened was because they had the wrong person in charge, which was Don Matrick,
right.
And I remember during E3, for years I've been trying to get him on our show. I had every single top guy from Xbox on our show, every single one of them except him. So I'm wondering why he don't want to talk to us. He don't want to talk to nobody from the community, and they are not investing anymore on the for like community events and I was really extremely pissed. So what I did was I posted a letter calling him out on our website, and I'm like, look, let us, the community, ask you questions because it seems that you just involved with just the major media. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So when I posted that letter, honestly, I didn't know what was gonna happen. I just posted it, So I got tons of emails like privately from like people that used to work for Microsoft and that used to work at Xbox. Even look, Peter Moore hit me up. Jay Adler and a couple other people thanked me. Hey, that's good, Godfrey. Keep on doing your thing. Don't give up. We'll see. A week or two later, Don Matrick resigned from Xbox, and I was running. Man, who are they gonna get? I met Phil a few times at events, and he seemed really really cool. But when I heard that they announced him having to be like the person in charge, I was like, man, they made the right decision, man, because he's a gamer. He actually talks to the community. He takes his time to talk to people to Twitter. Last year, they let us interview him at the Microsoft booth at E3. 101 interview. We sat down. He was very cool and humble. You could tell when you sit down with someone and you get that vibe.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
We felt good. I'm like, they made the right decision. Now they made so many great changes, man. Having Phil on your show. You know what I'm saying? Like little things like that.
Right.
So we'll see. I hope to see more of that from Microsoft. And it's good that you guys are doing your thing and are also trying to let them know what's going on, the good and the bad. Because one of the things that I noticed from a lot of Xbox sites and just bloggers and podcasters that just because they get a free game, they're good. They're basically kissing butt,
right?
And they don't want to say the bad things,
right?
And I think that's wrong,
right? I agree,
because at the end it's gonna hurt all of us, business wise. They're gonna do some decisions that we not agree, but those are the ones that are promoting. Hey, yeah, this is great. That's wrong,
Right.
So if you guys ever get an opportunity to attend an event, go to E3, just be yourself and just tell your listeners what's going on behind the scenes. If you guys get a free game, hey, we got a game from Xbox or whoever. As long as you be yourself and true to your fans, you guys are gonna do good, man.
Thanks, man. Appreciate that.
Appreciate that.
That's awesome advice. We really appreciate that.
Sorry if I took a lot of talking like that.
No, man.
It's all good, man.
It's all good, man.
I'm so passionate about podcasting, man. Yeah. I'm so passionate that I will spend a long ass time just talking about this. You know what I'm saying? So
right. No, I agree, man. I think we really love podcasting as well. We really love doing it for the community, doing it for the fans. The feedback we get from the Xbox community is so humbling. It makes us feel, like we're on top of the world sometimes, and we wouldn't be where we are without the Xbox fans and the Xbox community. It's the reason why we try to go out of our way to bring them such great content and bring them people that have interesting stories or interesting news or things that they want to talk about, and things that the fans want to hear. So
definitely.
That's just something that we try to focus on. And I'm going to pitch Xbox Radio to Phil Spencer as much as possible because TiC Podcast wants to be the official podcast for Xbox. In some way or fashion, we want to be the official podcast for Xbox.
Well, I'll tell you this. I'm not. I mean, dude, you know how many times I mentioned this to the major back then? Like, hey, put this on a 360 and whatever. It's a long story, but
right.
So, but I know that you know, because of Windows, they have a podcast app on the Windows system and also on the phone. Right. So if they are going to be adding Windows on the Xbox One, it's possible to see podcasts, all the shows, like an app probably for Xbox One.
Right.
I see that happening nowadays, you know.
Right.
We'll see in the future. That would be good for all of us, you know.
Right. Well, you know, we're cleaning up. We're working on that right now. We're getting our RSS feed together. We're already up on iTunes for you guys who are looking for us. Just look up TiC Podcast. All one word together, TiC Podcast. You should be able to find us on iTunes now. We are currently working on getting us up on SoundCloud, Android, and Windows Phone. And you know, we're going to keep fighting for you guys. We're going to fight to get TiC Podcast to be the official podcast for Xbox One and Microsoft. And you know, still be your voice, still be able to talk to executives and get those inside scoops, those games, and bring you guys the best content that we feel we can bring you, because TiC Podcast is more than just a podcast. So, Danny, I want to thank you, man.
Thank you for inviting me, man.
Yeah,
it's an honor. It's an honor, man.
Coming on the show and everything like that. And hopefully we can do this again. Maybe later on in the year we can do an E3 thing. Since we'll all be out there in California, maybe we can meet up and hang out. We should do a
roundtable over there, man.
Yeah, we definitely do. I'm so down. I'm
down for that.
I'm
really
definitely down for that. So
yeah.
Thanks a
lot.
Well,
I just very quick. I just want to give a shout out to my crew. You know, Paris. He's at Star Wars Celebration. Lucky. Shout out to him, Pete, and Possum, man. Those are my co-hosts, man. You know, for years. So shout out to them, man, and all the listeners out there, man. So.
Nice, definitely. Yeah, no, man. You always got to shout out the co-host, shout out your team. You know, my man Bmuny here, my man Unified, my boy Skittles, you know, Turkey. We got an excellent team, and I'm looking forward to adding some more people out there. You know, matter of fact, since I'm here, we are looking for some more members to join TiC Podcast. If you're interested in joining, hit us up on Twitter. We are looking for Twitch streamers and reviewers. For the channel. If you like doing video game reviews for Xbox One, let us know. Find us on Xbox at TiC_podcast, and send your reviews over Upload Studio to TiC Podcast, and we'll check them out and see how you do. And you can become a part of TiC Podcast as one of the review team members, or be a Twitch streamer if you're into Twitch. So you know, hit us up, let us know, and you might be a part of the team.
A special team.
Yeah, definitely. A special team. Yeah. So again, thanks, man. Appreciate it. And guys, we will see you guys. Actually, Saturday we have the Brad Wardell special coming on, where he's actually going to give us a game announcement. I won't say it's an announcement, but he did talk about a game he's bringing to Xbox One that's going to be built on DX12. So that's actually pretty special. He didn't announce that anywhere else, IGN, GameSpot, so that's kind of cool. We got that exclusively on TiC Podcast. So stay tuned for that. And we'll be back over the next couple of weeks with some more news and information. You just keep your ears listening to TiC Podcast, and we'll see you on the flip side. And we're off this planet. Peace.
For the fans, by the fans.